Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. My family has owned a beautiful strip of Riverside property for over 250 years. It's been passed down from generation to generation ever since my ancestors first settled in this area. The lush green grass rolls right up to the river's edge, providing the perfect spot for fishing, swimming, or just enjoying the view. Some of my earliest and fondest memories are of sunny days spent on that riverside land with my siblings and cousins. That all changed when a new homeowners association moved into the neighborhood about 10 years ago. The homeowners association had ambitious plans to take over management of the entire community, including the private properties along the river. They claimed it was for everyone's benefit, but it was clear they just wanted to control our land. My parents and I tried to avoid conflict at first. We figured the homeowners association would leave us alone if we kept quiet. Unfortunately, that was not the case. After a few years of leaving us alone, the homeowners association suddenly announced they were claiming ownership of our family's Riverside property. They said their research showed it was originally part of the community's common land. That was obviously false since we had the original property deeds dating back to the 1700s. Despite our vocal protests and documented proof of ownership, the homeowners association moved forward with their lawsuit against my family. We were forced to hire lawyers and go to court to defend our ancestral land. The legal battle ended up dragging on for over 2 years, draining our family's finances and energy. Then, while the lawsuit was still ongoing, the homeowners association did something unthinkable. One morning I woke up to discover they had installed a fence around our entire waterfront property. Overnight, they had seized control of our land, blocking us out completely. I was shocked they would do something so brazen and illegal while the court case was still undecided. My father and I immediately called our lawyers, who helped us file an emergency injunction. Thankfully, the judge quickly ruled in our favor, forcing the homeowners association to remove the fence and granting us access again. We hoped this would be a clear sign to the homeowners association that the property was still rightfully ours. Unfortunately, it seemed the homeowners association was determined to take our land no matter what. Over the next few months, tensions continued to rise as the lawsuit dragged on. The homeowners association kept making baseless claims about owning the Riverside property despite having no evidence to back it up. We did our best to prove through historical records and documentation that my family were the legal property owners. Finally, after over 2 painful years in court, the judge made his final ruling. My family was declared the sole legal owners of the Riverside property. The homeowners association's claims were completely without merit. It was a huge relief and victory for us. Not only did we win the case, but the judge also ruled the homeowners association had to pay a hefty fine for unlawfully seizing our land earlier. Their little stunt with the fence ended up costing them over $300,000 in fines. I have to admit it felt good to see the homeowners association face such severe consequences for trying to steal our family's legacy. In the end, justice prevailed. My family's Riverside property, which we had owned for over 2 centuries, was securely back in our full possession. The homeowners association was ordered to cease all claims and stay far away from our land. They won't be attempting such aggressive seizures ever again after getting hit so hard financially. This experience has shown me the importance of fighting for what is truly yours, especially your family's legacy. I'm proud my parents and I stood up to the arrogant homeowners association, despite the long, exhausting court battle. Now I can look forward to enjoying our beautiful Riverside property for many years to come, and someday passing it down to my own children. In the end, nothing can replace generations of family heritage and memories. This land is rightfully ours, and we weren't about to let some greedy homeowners association steal it away. The next one is a pro-revenge story. Backstory. My dad is a high school assistant principal. It is currently his first year at a new school, and it is a much better school than the last one he was at, which was overpopulated, drug-filled, and many of the students there had to have free or reduced lunches. There were fights almost every week, and my dad had to suspend kids almost every day. His new school is much better, with just 2 incidents all year, one with an autistic kid who had an episode, and the one I am about to tell you. Fine Redditors. About. Cast, my dad, entitled girl, entitled mother, entitled brother, entitled sister, the bus driver, judge, bus driver school systems lawyer, the EM's lawyer, my dad's principal, and the school cop. To clarify, any dialogue I might include will obviously not be 100% correct. The original incident took place about 2 months ago. I am not 100% sure what started it, but either the bus driver accidentally bumped into entitled girl while he was dropping her off, or he told off entitled girl for saying something rude, but she got upset and texted entitled mom about it. Entitled mom came out of her home and started yelling at him, so he just drove off. The next morning, the bus driver went to pick up entitled girl, but when he got to her driveway, she wasn't there. Entitled mom, entitled brother, and entitled sister were. He opened the door to ask where entitled girl was, and that's when all three of them boarded the bus. Entitled girl is a junior, I think. Her older brother was around 22, and her older sister was in college. These people were all adults, and all three of them started screaming at the poor bus driver, threatening him, calling him slurs, and telling him off. The rest of the kids on the bus were understandably scared. The moment the three of them got off the bus driver sped away. The one thing the entitled family forgot to think about was the fact that there are 4 HD cameras equipped with audio sensors on every bus in our county. They caught everything. The poor dude got the rest of the kids to school and went straight to the front office. My dad was angry. He got the video feed from the bus, called his school cop, who called some other cops, and had entitled mother arrested for malicious harassment, intimidation, trespassing, and a few other things. My dad's principal let my dad have control over the whole situation because he knows my dad does not mess around with these kinds of things. So my dad helped the bus driver get some revenge. First, he had entitled girl switched to a different bus route so she couldn't bother the bus driver anymore. Then he had entitled brother, entitled sister, and entitled mother permanently banned from the school grounds. And then he gave the bus driver a month of paid time off. These were just petty revenge, if that. Working with their lawyer, my dad got statements from most of the kids who were on the bus, and they decided to press charges against only entitled mother and entitled brother, who had apparently been in the middle of a 6-month probationary period for a different crime, so he was essentially guaranteed jail time. Going into the trial 6 weeks ago, nobody expected entitled mom to get any more jail time than a week, if that. My dad, his principal, and the school cop were all in the courthouse in case they needed to be called as witnesses. They were not. Their lawyer made his remarks, and entitled mom's lawyer just tried to reduce her sentence. He knew they were going to lose. The videos weren't even shown to the judge because there was so much other evidence. But the judge surprised everyone when he gave entitled mom a 30-day sentence. He made it very clear to her that she had threatened the life of a man, endangered kids, and trespassed on school property for no reason besides that the bus driver had told off entitled girl and that she should be punished accordingly. My dad and his principal were trying not to cheer. But that wasn't even the best part. Entitled brother skipped his trial. They were back-to-back trials, so there is no way he could have forgotten. The judge immediately issued a bench warrant for his arrest. He was caught the next day in entitled mother's house, and when brought in front of the judge, he was given a year in prison for breaking his probation, skipping his trial, and for the same charges as his mother. If that isn't pro-revenge, I don't know what is. As for entitled girl, she switched schools. My dad has told this story to almost everyone he knows, as he finds the almost instant karma hilarious. If he had a Reddit account, I'm sure he would have posted it everywhere. =. The next one is a petty revenge story. I, 23F, worked at a call center about a year ago, and it was a small one with a business casual dress code policy. For reference, I'm 5'3" and have a pear-shaped body with big thighs and a C-cup chest. I'm on the curvier side, but still quite big. I had always been very insecure and had body image issues, but then I became very confident. I was always nice and wore clothes that complemented my shape. Yes, they were a little tight, but never revealing or too short. I don't know if it's conceited of me to say, but I have come a long way since being the shy, baggy-clothed girl from my high school. Well, there was this woman in her 40s who was also on the larger side. She would come in wearing Crocs, baggy pajama pants, super loose shirts, and bedhead hair. She would often stare at me, almost with anger, and talk about me as well. I never cared because I had gotten used to it. However, things took a turn when she started becoming bolder by approaching me and nitpicking my clothes. The first time she did this, I was wearing a long cardigan and a tube-top jumpsuit. Since I have a larger bottom than my chest, I was surprised when she said my breasts were showing and that I needed to cover up. She even tugged at my jumpsuit. I was so embarrassed that I went to the bathroom and cried. Then I approached my supervisor to ask if I was violating the dress code. She said no and mentioned that she would talk to her. Little did I know, they were actually best friends. This happened 2 more times, and there was still no resolution. My breaking point came when she started causing a scene in front of my coworkers. On that day, I was wearing a knee-length skirt with a sweater. As I was talking to a coworker with others around, she approached me and said, "Again? It's as if you're seeking attention." Confused, I looked around and asked her what she meant. She pointed at my legs and claimed that I was practically naked because my skirt had shifted an inch above my knee from moving in my seat. Frustrated, I stood up and loudly asked, "Why do you constantly single me out? Is it really about my clothes, or is it something else like the color of my skin? I'm genuinely curious because you're always targeting me and not even paying attention to your own agents." She was a supervisor from a neighboring company's cubicle, but frequently came over to our desks to flirt with the male workers. She began stuttering and darting her eyes around, realizing that everyone was looking at her and standing up from their desks. She quickly said, No, it's not like that. I'm just trying to look out for you, you know? Big girl to big girl? I just wasn't sure if you were comfortable with what you were wearing." I responded, "Clearly I'm here working, and if I were out of dress code, my own supervisor would inform me." After that, it was nothing but smiles and her constantly offering me snacks. Sorry for the long post, but it still makes me chuckle to this day. The next one is a malicious compliance story. My mom is like a terrible hoarder, and for the past 2 years I've lived with her, I've tried to clean the house constantly, but there's just no place to put everything. And seeing as I have OCD, diagnosed, I swear I'm not one of those people. It's been really emotionally stressful for me. It's even reached the point where it contributed to me trying to end my life before, back when I was 14, and she just doesn't seem to care. This woman, when I first told her I was suicidal over the mess, legitimately said, "Well, if you care about the mess so much, make sure you don't get blood on the floor when you off yourself." But then, she played the pity card for money when I was hospitalized. I have my own insurance that covered all of my medical bills. She didn't need any money. Then yesterday we got into a huge argument about the house being filthy, and she brought up some of my past trauma for no reason. She then said that she was just as much a victim, and the house being dirty affected her just as much, if not more than me. And she just kept going, while I bawled from the awful things she was saying. Then she told me to get out because she needed a nap, not to hear me idiot and whine at her. So I let her take that nap. While she did, I did her a favor by unvictimizing her and throwing away the huge piles of hoarded clothes, wrappers, bottles, broken glass, boxes she'd saved for 3+ years in case she needed to do a return, broken remotes, etc. After a lovely 5 hours straight of filling up trash bags, I finally stopped to eat and go to bed, but I got the living room almost completely clean. This morning has been amazing, having a clean room and watching her be all pissy, without being able to admit she's mad I threw her stuff away, because then she'd have to admit she's been falsely telling everyone she knows that I hoard, despite everyone knowing it's BS because it's stuff I never use, and that she's a clean freak. Even her boyfriend at X thinks it's hilarious and keeps cracking jokes about how she's gonna be the next thing in a trash bag. Genuinely though, this is the best I've felt in a while. I love stuff being clean. The next one is an entitled people story. Well, the title explains most of this, but I'm fuming right now, so I gotta rant this one out. So we've had issues with our attached neighbors from the moment we bought our house. Originally, it was just a 60-something-year-old woman and her 18-something-year-old grandson. The day we moved in, we tried to make small talk and introduced ourselves. The woman was dropping hints that the old owners used to bake her goodies all the time, and she missed it, kind of insinuating that we should be like them because she deserved to be treated like a princess. The grandson introduced himself as the worst person in town. What an intro. So afterwards, we just tried to keep a friendly distance and stay out of their way. Suddenly, after about a week of living here, they began screaming at odd hours, blasting music, banging on the walls. The police were at their house for domestic disputes monthly due to the woman calling the cops on her grandson. We've lived here for over 2 years now, fixing up our house, and making it beautiful and adding value to it. Up to this point, we've just let them have their problems because it's not like we have kids to worry about protecting. It's just my partner and me in our mid-20s. Fast forward to last month, one evening after it got dark, we heard what we thought were gunshots right in our backyard. Mind you, we live in a downtown suburb borough with an older person facility right behind our house, so we were a little concerned. We have cameras that we installed just to be safe, so we checked them. The grandson and his friends were sitting in their yard talking about shoot another round. They'll just think it's fireworks, and that's a .45 round. Unfortunately, it was dark, and we couldn't see them shoot it, but the camera picked up the sound of them shooting off 9 rounds, so we naturally called the cops. The kids then left, and the cops couldn't prove anyone was on the premises with a gun, so they let it go. In the beginning of August, the woman decided to let her daughter, Sil, and their children move in with them for who knows what reason. Before this, they had only come to visit on holidays, and one time they left their infant child on the street in a carrier for over a half hour until I knocked and let them know she was out there. None of my business, but from there on, the screaming and yelling got worse, and this time with crying kids in the mix. I had half a mind to call CPS, but I've heard the awful things that happen to kids in the system, so I couldn't bring myself to do it. This month, we were fortunate enough to go on a road trip to see some cool places and visit family. We left at the end of August, and we were checking our cameras when we had service, which was not much. One day, we get a call from our unattached neighbor saying our attached neighbors were building a really ugly shed with spare planks from who knows where. We tried not to worry too much because up to this point, their crappy shed wasn't our problem other than an eyesore in the neighborhood. We just enjoyed the rest of our trip and let it go, occasionally checking to make sure they weren't in our yard or anything since it's nicely fenced in and gated. Didn't catch anything on camera other than them building their crappy shed. We arrived home a few hours ago to find that these entitled folks dug out and stole part of our fence, metal post and chain link, to create a back fence/gate for their yard. This left huge holes in our back parking area that my partner almost tripped and fell into. They also tied into our fence incorrectly, pulling our fence lopsided and loose, basically damaging it. Unfortunately, our camera didn't catch them taking our fence, just was in our yard in one frame and in theirs the next. We want to press charges but aren't sure how to go about it. We checked our seller's disclosure stating that the previous owners of our house had put the fence in, so we know it was our fence they took. I'm so livid, and I know yelling at them won't fix it, but how can you be so entitled that you can't even buy your own chain link fence but instead steal your neighbors when they aren't home? The next one is an entitled parent story. I live in a rental. We have a shared garden, laundry room, and other amenities. It's a mix of rentals and owned apartments, and most residents, including myself, have lived here for several years. That's to say, you generally know who comes and goes around here. Over the summer, this lady has started coming and going all over the property. She's the mom of a newer resident who actually seems nice enough. This mom is entitled, but in a slightly different way. She has slowly begun taking over all the shared space of our building. These are some of the things she's been doing. The entitled mom leaves passive-aggressive notes when she's dissatisfied with something. For example, "This machine is broken. Who's going to fix it?" There's a manual next to the machine, clearly stating the number you need to call to get it fixed. "Can we all maybe remember to empty the lint collector in the dryer? It's not that hard," and then leaves without emptying the lint collector herself. She often wants a specific resident to deal with it, but doesn't address him through anything but the notes. He is in no way the janitor. Entitled mom opens all the doors and windows in the basement and refuses to close them. A passive-aggressive note informed me that it's because the basement is too humid. I can understand it if you're going to be in the area and need to access the basement, but she just opens everything and leaves. If you go to close them, she will go back down, open them again, and leave. I came down the other day and not only was everything open, but the shared laundry room keys were in the outside door. She was nowhere around. This is not a low-crime area, and she's putting us at risk of being robbed in a way where insurance won't cover anything. This is also kind of triggering for me, as I was subjected to arson in a previous housing situation due to this exact behavior. She also had a phase where she'd prop open the front doors and all the fire doors as well. But that has fortunately not stuck. We have a really nice shared apple tree in the garden, and the apples are plenty and delicious. It's a take what you need kind of thing. A neighbor of mine went out to grab an apple for herself and her kid, and immediately entitled mom flings open a window and yells, "Don't take those! They aren't ripe yet!" The neighbor is like, "I'll take my chances, thanks." Entitled mom huffs and says, "Suit yourself, but you're gonna have a bad time, just really weird apple entitlement." Entitled mom decided that the laundry booking system was bad and implemented her own system. Before, you just booked the laundry room, and you'd have it available in the booked time slots. With this new system, you gotta book the individual machine in the individual hours you plan to use each machine. Of course, the new system has a passive-aggressive note attached. The first time I booked time slots, she actually deleted them. Not because she wanted to use that slot herself, I had just done it wrong. Infuriating, we have a no loose dogs in the shared garden rule. It's mostly to avoid random dog poops, but it's not the only reason. Entitled mom does not care. Her daughter's chihuahua is constantly off-leash and running everywhere. The other night I heard it try to attack a cat. A few weeks ago my kitchen started smelling really weird, like chemicals and toxins. The smell kept getting stronger and I could not figure out where it was coming from. I went to the basement and some areas were also pungent. I asked a neighbor if he knew where the smell was coming from, and he helped me search for the source. Turns out, entitled mom had been soaking some wooden fence posts in paint thinner, and thought it was a great idea to leave them to dry in the tool closet right below my kitchen, sending all those nice toxic fumes right up through the vents. The neighbor got EM to move them. I want to reiterate, she does not live here. The daughter has a really busy job, so the entitled mom is around a lot. I suspect to take care of the dog, and evidently the daughter's laundry. Because of this, she feels entitled to micromanage all shared space. Several other residents are really sick of her antics, and she has been confronted at least once by janitor man's mom, who also owns a rental in the building. I just needed to get this off my chest because I have no idea how to address this. She's just really annoying. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.